To a World of Warship Blitz video. This video is looking at a new release of a premium ship. This is a Tier 8 premium. It is the Lenin, a Russian premium battleship. So there are quite a few premium battleships now released, so we can do a stats comparison and very much do a like-for-like stats comparison. So let's pull up some details here. There's some basic details like about how much it weighs and how long it is and when it was built and blah, 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 blah. Stuff that affects the game. Right, let's get straight to it, shall we? Stuff that affects the game. So we have what looks like a relatively good flooding and fire resistance, sort of average citadel protection, damage protection, torpedo protection about 15%. And we have 48,000 hit points. So let's do some comparisons against some of the comparative ships. So it certainly has better fire protection but worse citadel protection and 5,000 less hit points than the Tirpitz, which is a very good brawler. The Key, similar hit points to the Key, maybe the Key's got a little bit more. The Key certainly doesn't have the same flooding and fire resistance and actually has worse protection all round, 13.5, 15, maybe torpedo damage and citadel protection is comparative. The Alabama has incredible torpedo protection, the best of them all, excellent fire and flooding resistance, and 48,000 hit points. So, looking at the Lenin, oh man, we've got more coming, haven't we? Look at this. The Richelieu, the Lenin compared to the Richelieu, very comparative, although the Richelieu has much better torpedo protection, but sacrifices for flooding and fire resistance. The Roma and the Richelieu also has the same number of hit points. The Roma has slightly more hit points and fairly good protection all round. Excellent torpedo damage reduction. Oh my gosh, look at that damage reduction. I might actually, that might be the ship that I go for in my in the port, as it were. Right. Okay then. So, having looked at the survivability, the Lenin sort of looks like it's got that Russian stuff going on. Keep it at a distance because anything that's close in, because fire and flooding resistance, well, especially particularly fire, that's those long-range HE shots, got good protection against that. It hasn't got great hit points and its protection is fairly average, although better than the Key. Let's go for the speed, manoeuvrability. So 26 knots. 30 seconds time to full speed, which is pretty slow, and 4.8 degrees per second with 14 seconds turn time. I hope I can remember all that. So it's a bit slower, slightly faster to accelerate, not as good at turning, although its turn time is fractionally faster than the Tirpitz. So you get the Tirpitz into a turn, although the Tirpitz does have some equipment modules in it, which may, of course, be making all the difference. Let's go across to the Key, which also has equipment modules. So the Key's a little bit faster, certainly much faster to accelerate at 25 seconds rather than 30 seconds. Maximum traverse speed is 4.9 degrees per second, and I think the Lenin from memory, and my memory isn't that good, is 4.8. And let's go for the Key. Turn time is slightly slower. So, yeah, the Key has slightly worse, on par with performance for the Key. For the Alabama is about the same speed, a little bit faster to accelerate at 26 rather than 30 seconds. Faster with maximum traverse speed, although I do have an equipment module loaded, and the turn time, 12 seconds, is a bit quicker again. Let's go for the other front gun ship, which is the Richelieu. Sorry about the time taken for my phone to find the Richelieu. 30 knots, very fast, the Richelieu, and I think it has engine accelerator as well. Very far good at accelerating at 23. Maximum traverse speed 5.4 degrees per second, which is pretty good, and excellent turn time. And the Roma, if that brings the Roma up, is faster. It's pretty much on par with the Richelieu by the looks of it, although its turn time is excellent. So the Roma, a very agile ship. The Lenin, sort of averagely so, not the worst of the pack, but still fairly rough. Right, let's go for guns. So it has 3 turrets of 3 guns each, 406 millimeters at the front of the ship, much like the Nelson. Fortunately, that rear turret rotates to the front, not around the rear. because if it did that, that would probably be the death knell for the ship, because basically what it means is if you change position, in a 6-minute game with this turret traverse speed of 5 degrees per second, that turret may have to go around a 270 degree or more turn. So pointing out the front is an excellent move, and I wish they'd change the Izumo to do the same. Right, okay then, rant done. Reload time, 23 seconds. That looks pretty high, but let's go and compare. 14 kilometre range, because it's a premium, of course, it's fully decked out with all its upgrades. 14% fire chance, and it's 1900 AP damage. So 1100 HE, 1900 AP, 14% fire chance, 14 kilometre range, and 23-second reload. Let's go for another long-range shooter. I think, is this a long-range shooter? So this is much faster, similar range. In fact, that's a bit worrying. The Richelieu has slightly better range than the Lenin. Go figure. Slightly lower HE damage, slightly lower fire chance, lower AP damage. There's 380mm guns, so that probably explains a bit of the difference. So you sacrifice a bit of power for a faster reload. And it's got 8 of them rather than the 9. The Roma is 2 turrets to the front, 1 turret to the rear, 9 guns, 21 seconds, so they're 380mm rather than 406. 14 kilometre range, 21.5 second reload, so a couple of seconds faster than the Lenin. Only 1,000 damage, 11% fire chance, which is 3% lower than the Lenin. About 150 less HE damage, and about a couple of hundred less AP damage. Similar traverse speed on the turrets. Right, the Tirpitz. I mean, the Tirpitz main guns are, to be fair, a bit of a joke, but and that's because they shoot all over the place. So it's not the fact that they're actually bad. Well, okay, let's have a look at some stats. 380mm, 19-second reload, which is nice and quick. 14 kilometre range, which is reasonable. Less than 1,000 HE damage with a 9% chance of setting a fire. So basically used in extreme circumstances against destroyers, but given the dispersion, yeah, won't bother. And AP damage is a 1,700. So basically it's, its guns are certainly better than the Tirpitz. In fact, the Tirpitz is starting to show its age a little bit. Maybe it needs a little bit of work. Right. 410mm, that's comparative size guns on the key, which is nice to see, but faster reload on the key, same range, same HE damage, 1% smaller chance of setting a fire, and a 18, so slightly lower, about 100 or less than 100 points lower AP damage, but it comes with 10 guns rather than 9. Okay, then the weak armour on this ship is probably made up by the power of the guns, because looking at this has the most powerful guns in the tier, and the traverse speed isn't too bad either. It's 6.42 degrees per second. Alabama, 9 guns, 6 front, 3 rear, 406mm, 22-second reload, almost as slow as Lenin. Lenin has the slowest reload. And interestingly enough, for a Russian battleship, has the shortest range. HE damage 1100, so comparative, 13% fire chance rather than 14%, but still that's pretty good. And 1900 AP damage, I think maybe 10 or 15 lower than the Lenin, because I think the Lenin was 1947 or something like that. The Lenin has very comparative firepower to the Alabama. Right. Let us go down to secondary guns. So we've got 2 sets of secondary guns here, which is very nice to see. You have the manual secondaries, which are 6-inch, and you have the 100mm auto secondaries. So you have those manual secondaries are somewhere. Let's just have a look. They look as though they're on the side. There they are, 2 turrets on the side. There'll be 2 on the other side, and those auto secondaries look as though they're the turrets behind that. So the placement of the gun is something to worry about. No, it's not the wrong button, mate. Wrong button, right. Okay then. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up. Right, so secondaries. 7-second reload, 6-kilometre range, 3% fire chance, 400 damage. The auto secondaries, I think, are pretty comparative all the way across. But the 8-second reload and 8-kilometre range, so basically a couple of hundred damage more. So basically the secondary guns on the Tirpitz, obviously best in class. Even the secondary guns auto have that much higher range at 4.9 kilometres rather than the Lenin's 3.8. Secondaries on the key. The key also has torpedoes, but we're not going to talk about torpedoes. Faster reload, so slower reload, because I think they're 7 seconds. Yep. Same range at 6.21, 400 damage and 4% fire chance. And the secondaries, I think the auto secondaries look pretty much identical. And for the Alabama, so the secondaries there have slightly lower range, 6-second reload, which is nice, slightly lower damage and slightly lower fire chance. And the auto secondaries are pretty much on a par, from what I can. Oh no auto secondaries. I'm looking at the anti-aircraft armament. Right, and Richelieu is, come on guys, bring it up. Much slower reload, 9 seconds, 6.56 kilometres, so sort of similar range. 460, I think, rather than 400-ish, which is 425, so a little bit more damage, same fire chance. And the auto secondaries, slightly longer range than the Lenin, but otherwise they look pretty much similar. Okay, and the Roma is 8-second reload. That's quite slow. 6.21 kilometre range, which looks pretty much comparable. 448 damage, slightly higher damage. I think we're 420-ish. Yeah, 425. And it has a 2% fire chance. So secondary guns are actually pretty weak, but slow on the Roma. So secondary guns are no great shakes, but its auto secondaries have slightly longer range, but do pathetic damage at 189 compared with the relatively less pathetic damage of 236. Right, final events. Concealment, 11 kilometres, and AA is 156 and 184. So that is nothing really. Not great AA. So let's whiz through the. So another one that doesn't have great AA is the Tirpitz. If we can get down, I've got torpedoes. But the Tirpitz has lower small calibre, so 109 rather than round up at 150, but it has almost 100 or 90 higher large calibre AA. So the Tirpitz is certainly ahead from an AA perspective. And as for the AA monsters, the key obviously eats the Lenin double across all values. The Alabama is, more than double across large AA, but double across small AA. The Richelieu is, come back here, where's my AA? Is much higher, small AA and large AA, so more than double, with like probably 1.5 times, 2.5, something like that. Whereas large AA at 223 is still considerably higher than the Lenin. Now the Roma. Okay then, yeah, the Roma has the most pathetic AA of all. So the Lenin isn't the bottom of the heap, but it's pretty low on the stack. So, and as for surface detection, well, 10 plus kilometres all round, that's probably all you need to know. So there you go, there's a view of the Lenin. Some other key points you may want to consider. The historical camouflage has very good choices around what it provides. Torpedo damage reduction, which is always useful, especially at these tiers because the ships become much slower to manoeuvre and torpedoes much longer range and more numerous, and destroyers have a lot of them. The shell dispersion is nice. Any camo that provides shell dispersion benefit is an excellent camo worth getting, and 4% firing range and 4% hit points, which is fantastic to see. Let's go and have a look at what upgrades are available. And so the elite ship bonus is a flooding and fire resistance plus 15, which is very welcome, and main battery reload time minus 3% and main battery traverse speed at plus 7%, which, to be fair, looks like the better bet, because that main battery reload at 23 seconds, you can read you can probably read half a page of a novel between shots. So anyway, let's go back, and I think that is everything about this ship. Details. No, one more thing. Precise aiming system, it comes with 2. Precise aiming system 3s. Now, I'm not sure how many of the Russian ships have precise aiming. Now, what I find is that when you have a line of ships, and a good example would be, for example, the British lines where you have, I'm or is it the Atlanta? I'm just trying to think. So basically what you do is you have a whole lot of ships that have, let's say, rapid reload, rapid reload, rapid reload, and then you have something that has precise aiming, or some different skill, like the Belfast having sonar and the British ships. All of a sudden, you've got to make these choices with your commander, because all your commanders, or the commanders you want to use in that ship, do you forgo that benefit or not? So the precise aiming system, I think the Russian destroyers have rapid reload. I'm not sure about the Russian cruisers. I mean, I could go and look, to be fair. But anyway, you get a precise aiming system. You've probably been staring at it long enough while I've been ranting away here. Main accuracy improved by 35% for 20 seconds, 75-second cooldown. That's definitely, well, I think being a Russian ship, it's probably got fairly good accuracy anyway, but someone else would need to tell you that, because I'm not going to have a game in it right now. I'm going to sign off. And yeah, I'll try and get some games in it later. Anyway, I hope you found that valuable or interesting, or at least helping you with decision making around whether or not you want to grind for this thing, assuming there's an event coming up which can provide a benefit for grinding. Yeah, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.